You stole the family name, Eita. This bakery was built on our grandmother's reputation.
The morning rush hadn't begun, but the few customers inside recoiled as the door crashed open.
I should have inherited. You pushed me out and took the recipes for yourself.
Before anyone could react, Hiroto swung his fist into the glass display. The entire case crumpled in a shower of shards. Pastries flew across the floor. The elderly lady by the window shrieked, dropping her change purse. But Eita didn't move. He stood behind the ruin, flour still on his apron, his face unreadable.
Ada, I heard shouting from across the street. What happened? Are you okay?
Just a sudden visit from my cousin. He had some things to get off his chest. I'll clean it up. Grandmother can never see him like this. I have to understand why.
He picked up the broom and began sweeping, each stroke a quiet refusal to let the chaos win.
Ada, why aren't you calling the police? This was a crime.
It's family. If I bring the law into it, things will only get worse. I just want peace.
Outside the door, Hiroto staggered down the street, his slurs still echoing.
You can't hide forever. The whole family will know what you've done.
Ada measured and cut a sheet of plywood, each nail sealing away the morning's violence.
You're really going to let him walk away? After this?
If grandmother hears about this, it would destroy her. I can't let that happen.
He stepped aside and pressed her number, the line ringing twice. But when she answered, his voice didn't come. He ended the call without a word and laid the phone face down on the counter. The bakery reopened the following Monday. The plywood patched a scar that regulars couldn't ignore.
Only 3 customers today. Word travels fast in this neighborhood.
Akane's blog post went live that evening. A quiet baker with the strongest sourdough in Tokyo deserves our support, not our pity.
You didn't have to write that, but thank you, Akane.
A week later, Eita's phone rang. Hiroto's name flashed on the screen, and this time the voice was steady.
I want 30% of the bakery, Ada. It's a family legacy, and you've been hogging it alone.
The bakery is mine. I built it with my own hands. You abandoned the family name years ago.
We'll settle this properly. I'm coming back, and I'll bring the real owner. Then we'll see who the family sides with.
The line cut off. Eita held the phone, the hum of silence filling the bakery.
He's going to drag her into this. I can't let that happen.
The following Saturday, a taxi stopped in front of the bakery. Hiroto stepped out first, then carefully helped an elderly woman onto the pavement.
Here we are, Oba-san, your beloved bakery. Too bad someone's been keeping it from you.
Welcome, grandmother. Please come inside. I'll make some tea.
This isn't a social call. This bakery was built on family recipes. It belongs to the family, not just you.
But the old woman looked past him, her eyes wandering over the shelves as if they held no meaning.
Let's not shout. Oba-san, would you like to sit? I have a fresh batch of your favorite sourdough in the oven.
I want everyone to hear this. I'm demanding a fair 30% share of this place, or we take it to court.
A couple of regulars exchanged glances, their teacups forgotten.
Hiroto, you're being too loud. Where are the bread rolls?
Ada knelt by her chair, and for a second, her trembling hand rose to his cheek. Then it fell away, leaving only a ghost of warmth.
Oba-san, come with me to the back. I baked something you'll want to taste.
He guided her past the counter, leaving Hiroto to drum his fingers impatiently on the table. In the quiet kitchen, Eita sliced a loaf fresh from the oven, the crackling crust filling the warm air.
That aroma, it's just like our old shop. Your grandfather would be so proud.
She took a careful bite of the sourdough, and her eyes fluttered shut as if tasting a memory 40 years old.
Eita, this is wonderful. Did I teach you to bake like this?
A tear traced a line down her cheek before she could catch it with a trembling hand. Ada took her hand, but before he could answer, Hiroto's voice cut through from the front.
Eita, stop hiding in there and explain what you're telling her.
Grandmother looked toward the noise, the spell broken, but the taste of the bread still lingered on her lips. Hiroto shoved the kitchen door fully open, his shadow spilling across the flour-dusted floor.
Enough of this. You're filling her head with lies behind my back.
The old woman flinched, her momentary clarity dissolving under the weight of his bark.
We're leaving, Obaa-san. He doesn't deserve a second more of your time.
He gripped her elbow and pulled her toward the front, leaving the half-eaten bread crumbling on the plate.
You'll hear from my lawyer, Eita. 30%, or the whole family will know what a thief you are.
Ada stood rooted to the spot, the aftertaste of the sourdough turning bitter in his mouth. Akane slipped inside and found him staring at the empty doorway, his fists clenched.
Are you okay? I heard everything. Ada, he can't really take the bakery, can he?
I have to find a way to protect her, without destroying him.
That night, the bakery sat dark, the chairs stacked on tables like a forgotten fortress.
My grandmother founded the first bakery 40 years ago. Everything I know, she taught me. But Hiroto tried to sell her recipes to a corporate chain years ago. She nearly lost everything.
Akane leaned closer, her hand reaching across the table to rest on his.
What happened? Did she stop him?
I don't know the whole story. All I heard was that she locked away her recipes and never spoke of it again.
Before she could answer, a sharp knock echoed through the empty bakery. Eita opened the door to find a courier holding a cream envelope sealed with a red wax stamp. The return address, Japan Artisan Bread Association. His fingers tightened until the paper crinkled.
Ada? What is it? You look like you've seen a ghost.
With a slow, deliberate tear, Ada broke the wax seal and unfolded the heavy parchment.
We are honored to announce you, Ita Kuroda, as the Grand Prix winner of the 14th Japan Artisan Bread Championship.
Grand Prix. That's the highest award in the country. Eita, when did you enter?
For 2 years, I competed anonymously, slipping away to regionals before dawn. I couldn't risk anyone knowing.
He pulled the gilded certificate from the envelope, its embossed letters catching the dim kitchen light.
This is extraordinary. But why keep it secret? This could silence Hiroto in a heartbeat.
Or it could give him ammunition. He'd argue the bakery is worth far more and demand a bigger share. I need to handle this carefully.
You can't fight him alone with a secret victory. What's your plan?
I don't have one yet, but I can't let this get out until I've secured grandmother's position. Promise me you'll stay quiet.
Akane pressed her lips together, then gave a small, worried nod. The envelope rested between them like a weapon waiting for the right moment. In a cramped apartment across town, Hiroto sat among empty cans, but his eyes were sharp and sober.
Those old recipes are still worth a fortune, and Eita is sitting on them like a fool.
He smoothed out a letter from a corporate chain that had pursued the family recipes for years.
If Eita won't share the bakery, I'll take the legacy another way.
He reached for his phone and dialed a number he had not used in years.
I need you as a witness at the bakery. Grandmother's memory has faded, and her own grandson is exploiting her.
He arranged a meeting for the next Saturday, with the elder and grandmother in tow.
Once she signs a statement in front of witnesses, Eita will either pay up or lose the bakery altogether.
He folded the corporate letter and slipped it into his jacket, the paper crinkling like a promise. Then he sat in the dark, waiting for the week to pass, the silence filling the room like a held breath. A few days later, Hiroto returned, this time with a stooped family elder and grandmother grasping her cane.
I've had a legal agreement drawn up, 30% ownership, or we proceed to court.
Before anyone signs, I'd like to speak with my grandmother alone, just for a moment.
The elder opened his mouth to object, but before he could speak, grandmother's cane tapped the floor.
I'll go with Eita. I want to see the kitchen again.
She rose without help, her hand finding Ada's with a steadiness that surprised everyone in the room.
This changes nothing. We'll settle this today, Eita.
Ada led her into the warm kitchen, away from the two men's impatient stares.
Thank you for coming back here with me. I need you to remember something, if you can.
She nodded faintly, her fingers brushing the edge of the old mixing bowl as she sat down.
this mixing bowl. I remember teaching you your first sourdough. You were so small. Is Hiroto causing trouble again? He was always asking for money, even as a child.
He's trying to claim the bakery as his own. He says he deserves 30% of everything.
After what he did, I would never give him the recipes, not after he tried to sell them.
For a moment, her hand found his cheek, and her eyes were sharp with memory, like a blade breaking through fog.
Where are we? I can't remember. This room feels so strange.
The clarity dissolved like steam from a cooling loaf, leaving only a fragile old woman in a strange room.
It's okay, Oba-san. You're safe. Just rest here a moment.
He held her hand, his own heart sinking, knowing the truth she'd spoken would slip away unproven.
I need to find the proof before Hiroto takes everything.
Ada guided her back to the front, the two men turning as they entered.
She's clearly exhausted. Now sign the agreement and end this farce.
I'm not signing. This bakery was built by my hands, not family law.
The elder cleared his throat. Perhaps a family arbitration. Let a neutral mediator decide, he suggested, his voice dry as old paper.
Arbitration. I'll consider it, but I won't be forced into a corner.
Hiroto sneered, but finally gestured for the elder to follow, pulling grandmother away without another word. The door clicked shut. Akane slipped from behind the counter and followed him to the kitchen.
Ada, I heard everything. We need to find whatever grandmother signed. Is there anything at her old house?
There's a wooden box in her closet. Locked. I saw it years ago. I never thought about it.
Akane's hand found his. Then we go tonight, she said, her voice steady. The evening air was cool as Eita and Akane slipped through grandmother's door. She dozed in her armchair, a shawl draped over her knees. In the back closet, behind old kimono fabrics, Eita's fingers found the wooden box, dark and dusty, its brass lock gleaming.
That's it. But it's still locked.
A soft rustle made them turn. Grandmother's eyes were open, fixed on the box in Eita's hand.
I gave you the key years ago. You must still have it, Eita.
I don't remember, but I've always had this small key on my ring. I never knew what it opened.
He slipped a strange little key free and knelt beside the box. It slid into the lock with a soft click.
It fits. Ada, open it.
But grandmother's eyes were already closing, the brief spark guttering, and her head lolled back into the cushion. Ada didn't turn the key. He held it there, motionless, as if afraid of what the box would say. Back at the dark bakery, Ita turned the key and lifted the lid. The scent of old paper and cedar rose. Inside lay yellowed recipe cards, a faded photograph of a boy and grandmother, and a thick document bound with red cord. The legal transfer, signed and sealed. All recipes in the right to the family name are given wholly to Eita Kuroda.
Eita? There's a note at the bottom. To Eita, who never asked, and to Hiroto, who only took.
Eita's hand trembled, holding the proof that his grandmother had chosen him, not just as a baker, but as her true heir.
She protected me from him. Even back then, I never knew.
Akane touched his arm, her own eyes wet.
This changes everything. What are you going to do?
I don't know yet. I need to protect grandmother's dignity, not just win a fight.
He folded the paper carefully, as if it were a fragile crust, and locked it back inside the box. Late the next morning, the phone's ring cut through Eita's mixing rhythm. A production coordinator from a regional TV station was calling, offering a feature on the Grand Prix winner.
You want to film here? In 2 weeks? Yes, I can be available.
Akane slipped through the kitchen door, a steaming mug in hand, and caught the end of the call.
A TV crew? That's huge for the bakery, but this timing, with everything going on.
It might be the only way to make the truth stick. A public broadcast Hiroto can't twist it in front of cameras.
And grandmother? Seeing all this might confuse her even more. We have to protect her.
I'll invite her and Hiroto to the filming. Let them see. She deserves to watch her legacy honored properly.
Akane bit her lip, but finally nodded. The countdown had begun.
2 weeks. I'll show the whole world what this bakery truly stands for.
In his cramped apartment, Hiroto's phone buzzed with an incoming call from Eita.
What now, Eita? Ready to give me my share?
I want to settle this, Hiroto. Come to the bakery on the 15th. Bring grandmother.
Finally seen reason? Fine, we'll be there. Don't try anything stupid.
He hung up before Eita could reply, a satisfied smirk spreading across his face. Over the following days, Akane helped Eita polish every medal and hang the Grand Prix certificate beside the framed legal document.
This makes it real. Once the cameras show all this, Hiroto won't be able to twist anything.
That's exactly why I invited them. The truth deserves an audience.
Each evening, Eita stood alone behind the counter, rehearsing gentle words for his grandmother, as if she were already seated.
She'll remember. When she sees her own seal, she'll know.
The night before the filming, the bakery was silent. Eita sat in the kitchen, the certificate leaning against the stand mixer. He double-checked the security system. The footage of the earlier rampage was backed up and ready. But a sharp crack of glass made him freeze, the sound splintering the quiet like a warning. Eita killed the lights and pressed himself into the shadows, phone camera raised and aimed toward the noise. A figure in a hoodie crawled through the broken back window, landing softly on the kitchen tiles. Hiroto.
Where is that box? Those recipes are worth a fortune, and I'm not leaving without them.
Eita's phone recorded every second, the red dot pulsing in the dark like a patient heartbeat. After minutes of frantic searching, Hiroto cursed under his breath and squeezed back out the window, empty-handed. Eita lowered the phone, his hands steady, but his heart pounded against the flour dust on his apron.
Now he's given me everything I need.
He replayed the security footage. Every frame of Hiroto's intrusion was crystal clear. Near the shattered window, a crumpled letter lay on the tiles. It was the corporate chain's offer to buy the family recipes for an 8-figure sum. Hiroto wasn't just after the bakery. He was trying to steal the box and sell their grandmother's legacy. He dialed Akane, his voice low and uneven.
He broke in tonight. I have it on camera. He dropped a letter. He's still trying to sell the recipes.
Call the police after the filming. Don't give him a single chance to twist this.
I will. I'll file the report in the morning. But I want the cameras rolling when they arrest him.
She was silent for a moment, then whispered, "Be careful. I'll be there early."
Tomorrow, the whole truth comes out, and for the first time, it'll be on my terms.
As the first light touched the bakery windows, a TV van parked outside and crew members began unloading cameras. Inside, Akane fussed with grandmother's hair, tucking a small white flower behind her ear. The door chimed again, and Hiroto strode in wearing a pressed suit and a careful smile that didn't reach his eyes. Eita, in his baker's coat, greeted the host with a quiet handshake, the framed certificate gleaming behind them. The camera's red light blinked on, and the host spoke into the microphone. She introduced him to the region as the youngest Grand Prix winner in the nation's history. Hiroto's expression froze. His hands, halfway to clapping, dropped to his sides.
What? That's impossible! You've never entered any competition!
But grandmother lifted her chin, watching the two men, and something sharp kindled behind her clouded eyes.
This is a scam! You cheated! No one wins the Grand Prix in secret!
The host ignored the outburst and turned to Eita. "Tell us about your journey," she asked warmly.
Everything I learned came from my grandmother. She trusted me with her legacy.
The camera panned to the corner where grandmother sat, her eyes sharp and clear as glass.
My grandson is a good baker. I gave him everything I know.
She's senile. She doesn't know what she's saying. This is manipulation.
But she rose from her chair without aid, her spine straight, every inch the matriarch.
She is perfectly clear. Hiroto, all of Japan can see it.
That certificate proves it. He earned every letter.
Hiroto's face went pale, his fingers twitching at his sides as the camera captured it all. Eita lifted a second frame from behind the counter, the yellowed paper inside visible to everyone.
That's my seal. I signed it when Hiroto tried to sell my recipes to a chain. I gave my legacy to Eita, not to a thief.
Hiroto lurched forward, screaming.
That's a forgery. You tricked her into signing that years ago.
The host and grandmother watched, unmoved.
Would you like to see what else the cameras caught? This bakery's security system recorded a very different visit.
A crew member handed him a tablet, and Eita tapped the screen, turning it toward the camera. On the large monitor, Hiroto's earlier rampage replayed in high definition, the shattered glass, the flying pastries. The audience gasped, and Hiroto stumbled back, his hands raising as if to block the images. Hiroto spun on his heel and lunged for the exit, shoving aside a stunned crew member. But the bakery door swung open before he reached it, and two plainclothes officers stepped inside, blocking his path. One of them unfolded a document. Hiroto Kuroda, you are under arrest for vandalism and breaking and entering.
I told them you'd come. The footage of last night was more than enough.
The host raised her microphone, her voice carrying across the silent bakery. We are witnessing an incredible story of courage and betrayal. Hiroto's face drained completely, hands rising as if to ward off the inevitable. Grandmother watched from her chair, her eyes clear and unblinking. Akane stood motionless behind the counter, her knuckles white on the polished wood. The officer stepped forward, and the red camera light kept recording, capturing every breath of the standoff.
This can't be happening. Not like this.
The officers led Hiroto out in handcuffs, his head bowed, the camera tracking every stumbling step.
You grew up well, my boy.
Because I had you, Oba-san. Everything I am started with you.
The host turned to the camera, her voice thick with emotion. That, Japan, is the power of true craftsmanship and family. The bakery erupted, crew and customers alike clapping until the glass display rattled. Akane rushed from behind the counter, throwing her arms around his neck without a word. From the doorway, Eita watched the police car disappear, Akane's hand steady on his arm. Grandmother settled into the corner seat by the window, a quiet smile on her lips as if she'd always known. By dusk, a line stretched down the block, the bakery's name on every passerby's lips. Within hours, the clip spread online. News sites ran headlines, "Cousin's Bakery Betrayal Foiled by Secret Champion." By late afternoon, a second news crew interviewed him at the counter, his voice hoarse but steady.
My grandson never gave up, even when his own blood tried to tear him down.
Eita, the phone won't stop. We're booked for weeks. How did this happen?
We'll start baking overnight shifts. I'll need your help more than ever, Akane.
The display case emptied by mid-afternoon, customers buying whatever remained, some leaving flowers on the counter. Grandmother sat in her corner seat, knitting a red scarf, her eyes as clear as the day she founded the shop. In the kitchen, they moved around each other, flour flying, laughter rising over the rhythmic kneading.
I never wanted fame, but if this is what it takes, I'll bake until my hands give out.
At closing, they hung the sold-out sign, leaned against the counter, and breathed together. Before the first customer could line up, a distinguished visitor placed a leather portfolio on the counter. The Tokyo Bakery Association was granting a mentorship position and a 5 million yen grant for training the next generation of artisans.
I'll accept, but the mentorship will be in my grandmother's name, the one who taught me everything.
From her corner, grandmother set down her knitting, her hands trembling with pride rather than age. Akane slipped the framed legal document into Ita's hands, and together they hung it beside the championship certificate. Regulars began returning with friends, pointing at the two frames and asking for the full story. Eita caught Akane's eye across the crowded counter. The relief in her smile mirrored his own. The bakery felt whole, as if the missing ingredient had been the truth all along.
This is what she built, and now I get to carry it forward.
A few days later, a franked envelope arrived from the corporate chain that once pursued the family recipes. We apologize for the pain our actions caused. Your integrity has set a new standard in our industry. That same afternoon, the prosecutor called. Hiroto's trial for vandalism and breaking and entering was set for the following month. Early the next morning, Eita slipped a single sourdough loaf into a paper box and jotted a few lines on a card. On the card, in neat script, "Not for you. For the cousin I used to know."
That's kind. More than he deserves. Are you sure you're okay with this?
It's not forgiveness, but we were kids once. That boy might still be in there somewhere.
Akane helped him seal the box, her touch lingering on his hand for a moment. The box went out with the afternoon mail, a small offering headed into the darkness of a detention center.
Maybe one day he'll understand. Until then, I'll keep baking.
That evening, they locked the bakery door and walked together into the cool neighborhood air. Their footsteps fell in rhythm as they reached the river path, the water glinting with city lights.
I got an offer today. A full-time columnist position. They want me to write about food culture.
That's amazing, but would it take you away from the bakery?
I could write from anywhere, but I only want to write from here.
Akane, I don't want you to leave. Not when everything is finally starting to make sense.
She slipped her hand into his, their fingers interlacing like a dough that had finally rested enough.
I'm not going anywhere, Ada. This bakery is where I found my own story.
Overhead, the first stars appeared, and the bakery sign glowed a few blocks away, waiting for morning. The next morning, Ada unlocked the bakery under a fading moon, the street lamps warm. His grandmother already sat in her corner, knitting a red scarf, her needles clicking steadily.
Good morning, Oba-san. You're up early.
Akane slipped in with an armful of fresh flowers, roses, and baby's breath, still dewy.
Thought the tables needed a little cheer. A bakery should have flowers too.
A young girl entered with her mother, halting before the glass case, eyes huge and full of wonder.
This one's on the house.
She bit into it, crumbs on her chin, and her face lit up like a sunrise.
You are indeed my apprentice. You learned more than dough, you learned heart.
The bakery hummed with quiet joy, the smell of bread and flowers a gentle promise. Weeks later, the bakery glowed with fairy lights and the laughter of neighbors. It was grandmother's birthday. They brought small gifts, handwritten cards, jars of honey, a knitted tea cozy.
You look beautiful, Oba-san, today. Everything is about you.
Eita emerged from the kitchen carrying a towering 3-tier sourdough cake, the top glazed with golden honey and dried lavender. Akane sliced the cake while the regulars clapped, the bakery windows fogging with the warmth inside. A brief mention of Hiroto's trial, convicted and serving time, passed quietly, then someone raised a toast to the real story.
My 2 children are here, she said, her frail hand gesturing toward Akane and Eita.
Ada's eyes brimmed, and he pressed his hand over his chest as if to steady his heart.
I never thought I'd see this day, but here we are, and my heart is full.
After the last guest departed, Ada and Akane stood alone in the kitchen, surrounded by drowsy candles and plates bearing crumbs of celebration.
You outdid yourself with the cake. She'll be smiling for weeks.
She called us her children, Akane. I've never felt more whole.
She stepped closer, the flower on his apron leaving a pale trace on her sleeve. Then he leaned down and pressed his lips to hers, gentle, certain, like the first bloom of yeast in warm dough.
Stay.
He nodded, the kiss lingering in the space between them. Outside, the bakery sign cast its golden letters against the deepening night, a quiet beacon. In a Tokyo neighborhood bakery, the family recipe turned out to be not just bread, but the people who stayed when the dough was thin. And in the morning, they would bake again. Spring came early the next year, and with it, the bakery's delivery van trundled through the streets, stacked with boxes. Inside, the display case held not only bread, but a file of clippings, the Grand Prix article, the arrest photograph, and a handwritten thank you from a young apprentice.
The regional bakery review called you the heart of the neighborhood today. I framed it for the wall.
As long as grandmother still calls me her apprentice, I'm happy.
Always, my boy. Always.
Her needles never stopped clicking, but her eyes followed him with a clarity that time could no longer steal. Akane tied her scarf and slipped outside to the bench, scribbling in her notebook. Her column had become a quiet sensation, each piece infused with the bakery's warmth. The line outside was shorter now, made of regulars who knew each other's names, who left handwritten notes in the tip jar. And every morning Eita unlocked the door, the smell of sourdough already drifting into the street, ready for whoever needed a piece of home. A few months after the celebration, a young woman arrived at the bakery clutching a worn newspaper clipping and a handwritten letter.
She says she saved for months just to ask if I'd take her on as an apprentice. She read about the bakery online.
Then what are you waiting for? You started the same way, with nothing but a bowl and her belief in you.
Grandmother's knitting slowed in her corner, and she looked up with a small, knowing smile.
The first lesson starts before dawn. If you're serious, be here at 4 tomorrow morning.
The next morning, Ada led her to the kitchen table, where flour dusted the air and grandmother already sat on her stool.
The dough listens to your hands. Be gentle, and it will tell you when it's ready.
A week later, she lifted her first perfect sourdough from the oven, steam curling around her beaming face.
You're ready. The counter is yours tomorrow.
And so the bakery's story folded another generation into its dough, each new morning a quiet renewal of a promise. On a quiet evening, long after the last customer had gone, Ada and Akane stood behind the counter, the day's flour still on their aprons, their hands finding each other without thought. Grandmother had fallen asleep in her corner seat, the red scarf pooling around her hands, a faint smile on her face.
She looks at peace. This is what she wanted all along, to see her bakery full of life, not just bread.
We didn't just save the bakery, we saved her family.
He brushed a smudge of flour from her cheek, the gesture as familiar as kneading dough. Outside, the street was empty, the bakery sign still glowing above the door. The dough was resting, the oven's cold, but the warmth of the day lingered in the air like a gentle promise. And as they turned off the lights, leaving only the sign to keep watch, Ita knew that whatever came next, they would rise to meet it together. In the morning, the bakery opened as it always had, the first loaf already steaming, and a single white flower on grandmother's windowsill. Months later, the young apprentice now worked the counter with the same steady hands that had once shaped her first loaf, the morning regulars calling her by name.
She's quicker than I ever was, and she smiles at every customer, even the grumpy ones.
She reminds me of you, back when I first started writing here. Determined, a little nervous, but full of heart.
In her corner, grandmother's needles kept their rhythm, the red scarf now long enough to drape over her lap and the arm of the chair. A little girl at the counter, the very same one who had come in months ago, now ordered without her mother, a familiar spark in her eyes.
She comes every week now. She told me she wants to be a baker someday.
That evening, Eita and Akane stepped outside, leaving the apprentice to close, and walked hand in hand through the quieting street.
It's strange to not be locking up. Almost feels like we're passing on more than just a key.
The bakery glowed behind them, its windows casting a warm light onto the pavement, the murmur of the last customers drifting out. And deep in the kitchen, a fresh batch of dough was rising for the morning, carrying forward the story that had started with a bowl, a grandmother, and a handful of flour. And so the seasons passed quietly over the little bakery, the cherry blossoms giving way to summer cicadas, then autumn leaves. Inside, the same warmth greeted every customer, the familiar scent of sourdough a constant amid the changing world.
Each morning, I watch the hands of my family at work, and I know the future is safe.
Ada and Akane moved around each other in the kitchen with the ease of long practice, their conversation often unspoken.
From chaos came this quiet. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
The apprentice arrived before dawn, her own key now on her ring, a loaf already rising in her mind. And the little girl, now tall enough to see over the counter, pointed at her favorite pastry with the confidence of a regular. The sign over the door still read Boulangerie Eita, but everyone who entered knew it stood for something more, a legacy kneaded by hand, and a family risen from flour. And every morning, the oven fire was lit, and the dough began to rise, just as it always would.